Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Chinwe. This is the 20s edit, just a space for learnings, a space for exploration, a space for building, a space for just existing as someone in their 20s, you know. And lately I have been thinking about starting over, not the action of starting over, but like what it just means to start over, to be on a current path and then see this is not working out for me, and then pivot to something else, to a new purpose, to something, to a different method or to a different thing entirely. And how there's just something about the human psyche that just sees that action of you doing something again a failure. It's like the five, I don't know how many stages of grief are there. It's like the 5 or 9 stages of grief. You go through these different processes that you might not necessarily think, but you definitely feel. You might move through it fast, or you might definitely feel it intensely and say and think, oh my god, my life is over. What am I going to do? How am I going to start over again? I've come this far. I've done this, I've done that, I've made this work, I've made that work, but still something isn't working right, something isn't pushing right, something isn't, it's not just going the way you planned. And just that thought of, hey, okay, I'm going to redo it. There's just something about that that feels like failing. That feels like, oh my god, you're failing. I don't, is this I in my substack I put, is this stupid flight response from our ancestors. Nothing terrible is happening, but it feels like such a kick to the stomach. And I know, and I put them in stages. I'm consciously redefining the word or redefining the concept as more so a redraw. You know, this part hasn't worked out perfectly fine. Okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can rewrite. Let's see how we can rebuild what was gained, what was lost. How can we make this better? How can we make this turn out the way we want it to turn out? Because we're doing everything, putting time, money, if possible, conscious effort into making sure that the path we're on, it has an intended effect. And if it doesn't, what can we do to make sure we get our intended effect? So those 4 stages, I coined them. I don't know if you've ever felt that, but this is something that I have gone through. Basically, it's kind of like the 5 stages of grief. But this time, you're grieving your kind of failure, thinking your fear of failure, or thinking you're a loser, or thinking you're not worth it, or thinking you're so stupid, or thinking the universe was supposed to be on your side, but it wasn't, kind of thing. Again, my notebook is here. Forgive me. The first stage, the decision, that moment where you think, that moment where you say to yourself, it's not the dramatic I quit moment, it's a quiet realization that something isn't working and something isn't sitting right with you. The time and the effort you are putting in, it's not equal to the output you want to see. And so this path that you're on, there comes a point where you literally have to ask yourself the question, do I continue to go forward, or do I retrace my steps backwards and pick up the broken pieces and find some other path for me to be on that would give me the result I wanted. And it's not just a simple decision, it's a very, very hard one. I remember when I went into a business and I made such loss that I don't even know how I lost that amount of money. And I had to ask myself, do you want to keep losing more, or do you want to count your losses here and then go into something that, find a new purpose, go into something would give you the output you want? Because it's why I say it's difficult is because you've drawn, maybe consciously or unconsciously, you've drawn a blueprint. You've you have an idea of what you want the outfit to be like. I feel we don't just do things just for the sake of doing things. Whatever we do, we have an intended output or an intended thing we want to accomplish. And so if we are making conscious effort, putting conscious effort into that part, and it's not working, it's very, very painful. And there's also a feeling of, my goodness, did I just waste my time? Did I just waste my effort? Did I just waste my resources? And that's how I felt in that moment too, when my business wasn't going as planned. This time and effort that I put into something wasn't going as planned. And it's not just even one moment, it's various moments in various fields, that various parts I found myself in. The question of, should I keep going forward, or should I come back? Is there actually light at the end of the tunnel? And it's really very painful to make that decision, because you're thinking, why isn't this working? Why didn't this work for me? Especially if you're saying this is something that has worked for someone else. If this is a path that someone else has taken and it works for them, they ran the race and they finished it, and they finished it beautifully, and then it comes to your turn and it's not the case. It's different. It becomes a case of, why not me? Or what did I do wrong? Or is the universe out to get me? Does the universe not wish me to succeed? But that decision it's simply not the easiest, but it has to be made. And then you then grieve. It comes to the stage two, where you grieve that life, that part, that time, that loss you feel, that inadequacy you feel. Your confidence is gone. You feel so dejected, and it's not the end of the world. Like I said, oh my god, it feels like it's the end of the world. It feels like it's this big deal. It feels like the world came crashing down. But it's just one tiny misstep, one tiny bump on the road, one tiny detour on the road. Just because you took a detour on your way, on your journey, or whatever journey you're on, doesn't mean you should then go back home and then pack up everything and say, no, someone's cancelled. You reroute, right? You reroute, and then you're on your way to your destination. That's the same thing, but in this case, you're allowed to feel bad. At some point, if someone had called me, hey, seen me on the road and called me failure, I would have answered, because that's exactly how I felt. And more so, not just a loss of my time, but loss of physical resource, meaning money was spent and was lost, and it didn't give me the output I wanted. So I felt like it's doomsday. I felt like it was doomsday. And that's a very, very terrible feeling. But of course, you're allowed to feel it. Of course, you're allowed to grieve the blueprint that you drew that didn't work. But again, you have to move on. We have to move to the next best thing, which is to withdraw, which is to draw the first line on the new blueprint. I wrote something down that I think would really, really, really be helpful. You find a new purpose, you find some new passion, some new aim, some new goal to inspire your foolishness, and to just inspire, to tickle your fancy, and for you to then pour everything, all your rigors into. And then you get excited once more. You found something new, something shiny, and you pour your heart out into it. You pour your mind into it, you pour your soul into it. And for me, it started as, let me have something of my own. Let me build something of my own from scratch, something real, something from my own experience, something that might be universal to someone else, that might coincide with the life they also live, but it's very, very real for me. And that's how I started to build my brand, 20s Edit. 20s Edit. Coming from my own experience, my own knowledge, my own learnings, my own regrets, my own questions unanswered, my own questions answered, my own celebrations and all. And yeah, I do hope that somebody out there does see it, does relate to it, does understand it, and is inspired by it. So I'm withdrawing. It has taken me so many different iterations, so many replans, so many change of plans, so many different directions. I have a plan in mind, or I have a destination in mind, but how do I go there? What route do I take? I've changed and I've changed and I've changed. I've been consistent. I've been afraid. I have failed. I have gone through the whole 9 years of emotions, especially when starting something new and something so scary and putting yourself out there, especially to be consumed. But I'm enjoying, you know. I have a blueprint down and I want to follow it to the T this time. And like I said before, I want to be the person that does what they say they will do. That's like such absolute trust in yourself, such absolute trust in your mind to do whatever you say you're going to do. And I want to be that kind of person. So when I have my blueprint, I like to speak in builder terms because I like to think that I am a builder. So when I have my blueprint and I'm following it, and that's how you build momentum from the first line to the finished product. It takes momentum. It's doing it over and over again. It's building over and over again. It's repetition, it's consistency, it's pressure, it's all these things, which is it's a privilege to feel such pressure because this is something you have put on yourself. It's self-inflicted, but it's something that you want, something that gets you what you want, something that is on the way to becoming who you want to be. So it's kind of like a privilege to feel that. It's kind of a privilege to have strictures in your way so that you could have one story, you could have the second story, you could have the third story, and you do it again and again and again. And that's exactly what I'm doing, trying to show up. you know I said effort was the bare minimum I'm supposed to give, and I'm trying to give effort. So these 4 stages, it might be something you've gone through, but it's definitely something that I have gone through. It might be something you breezed past in a split second, or it might be something you've gone through in stages. But it's something that's very it's part of the human psyche. It's part of the human mind. It's part of the human experience to start over again. No one gets it in one try, or no one gets it in one run. You know, you practice and you practice and you practice and you reroute and you rewrite and you withdraw. And yes, you do feel like a failure, and yes, you do feel like you're inadequate or you're not worth it. But this time, fingers crossed, it's going to be different. This time, fingers crossed, the universe smiles on us and it reaches our wishes and everything works out beautifully. That's all we can do. That's all we can hope for. Hope really is truly all we have. So to anyone who hopes, I hope you. And that's all. Really, that's what I want to share. That yes, you can start again, and yes, you can feel the emotions of starting again, and yes, you can hope again. That it works this time. Again. Be delusional about it. So that's all for today. That's all for today. Bye. Subscribe. I want to make YouTube long term, full time thing. So subscribe. If this spoke to you in any way, subscribe.